In this WrestleTalk news, huge successes for WWE, more backstage news and all of the shakeups, and Becky Lynch shoots on Roman Reigns. So subscribe and enable notifications to always on for daily wrestling news videos.
Support WrestleTalk!
Come gather round, people, wherever you roam, for the times they are a-changin', especially in WWE, where Vince McMahon is Vince McGowan, and Stephanie McMahon and Nick Khan have taken over the CEO duties, and Triple H is now the lead creative. I think it's something that we all wished for over the years and has already seen some good returns, both in terms of content with an exciting, memorable SummerSlam in the books, and a Raw that only went and bloody pushed Tommaso Ciampa, didn't it? Yeah! Now, Triple H's being in charge also seems to have won back the interest of more than a few lapsed fans, as Monday's Raw managed to get 2,230,000 viewers. That is the highest rating this year by quite a long old margin. And that viewership is helped, no doubt, by the regime change, the intriguing SummerSlam fallout, and the fact that it was let slip the show would be a statement about the new state of WWE. Let's just all revel in the moment, because what is actually going on in WWE is very exciting. And that's not the only success the company's had recently, as according to a press release, this weekend's SummerSlam was also the most viewed edition of the pay-per-view in the history of WWE. The release read, "This past weekend, SummerSlam emanated live on Peacock from Nashville's Nissan Stadium in front of a crowd of 48,449 and became the most watched SummerSlam in company history. During the weekend, we surpassed 90 million subscribers and 70 billion lifetime views on YouTube and 18 million followers on TikTok. We were also proud to be the first brand that Epic Games rolled out across 3 games simultaneously, Fall Guys, Rocket League, and Fortnite, timed to coincide with our premium live event." And this is the thing, SummerSlam and the Ciampa Heavy Raw appear to be the tip of the iceberg for what Triple H has planned for the main WWE shows. Speaking with Logan Paul on his Impulsive podcast, Trips noted that he had big shoes to fill taking over the creative control from Vince McMahon, but would be looking to a team of talented people and then just ripping up the scripts like his old dad-in-law. I'm kidding, he's actually going to be listening to their ideas. In response to Paul asking if he sees this as an opportunity to do stuff that has never been done before in WWE, Paul from the back office said, "I'm counting on it. I'll say this about Vince, there are massive shoes that I couldn't even dream of being able to think I could fill. The gap there in this moment is massive, but the opportunity to take it in a direction it's never gone before is massive. I'm thrilled for that opportunity. We have an unbelievable team. It's never going to be one person. One person can't even begin to fill his shoes. It's going to take an entire team of people to jump in those shoes." Does Vince have an issue with how big his feet are? Sounds like he does. No, massive shoes, huge shoes, gigantic shoes. And that new direction, the one without the huge bottleneck of Vince's approval, has already begun, according to a report from PW Insider, who said that Trips has already started loosening up the restrictions put on talent when it comes to their scripts. It says the ruling came in over the last few days and gives talent more freedom when it comes to their promos and matches, giving them much more room to improvise. For instance, Drew McIntyre versus Sheamus from SmackDown this week was said to be mostly called in the ring instead of every spot being mapped out ahead of time, like how wrestling is done. And here's the thing, while as fans of WWE, it's hugely exciting to feel like the show is going to be changing for the better. For the talent in the company, it must just be a relief, because according to a report from Fightful Select, the latest edition of Raw created a lot of optimism for a lot of talent with the way that Triple H ran the creative for that show. He gave the women's division time to shine, focused on underutilized talent like Mustafa Ali and Ciampa. Oh yeah, and he just let AJ Styles be AJ Styles. Why were they not doing that for longer? The report notes that even talent not featured on the show were excited by the changes and, of course, also relieved, because one of the first things that Triple H did when he got back in charge was bring back Dakota Kai, which one NXT talent said made them hopeful for their future as well, because then the developmental develops into something. Kevin Nash had his own insight into the whole thing on Click This, saying that back in the McMahon era of WWE, Vince will not have the show done, leaving talent in the lurch when it comes to what they're going to be doing on the show until the very last minute. He reckons that under Triple H, one thing guaranteed that happened this Monday was that it was, you know, people knew probably by 5, people had a concrete idea exactly what was going to happen in the garden. What a basic, obvious, but positive step. But as with all things wrestling, it can never be all sunshine and rainbows, because with any regime change usually comes a wider sweep of changes, as it's out with the old and in with some of the new. Dave Meltzer on Wrestling Observer Radio seems to reckon that this has a few members of the roster worried. He said, "I've heard from some talent and generally they are positive, but there are definitely people who are worried that they're going to be losing their spots, and there will be some people who will, because you're going to have different visions of who the top people are, and not everyone can be a top person." Now, an example of this might be Omos, who was pushed heavily under Vince but hasn't been featured on TV since Triple H took over. And this is the thing, the reshuffle of top talent is one that's super interesting to watch as a viewer, but that uncertainty likely isn't that fun for the WWE roster, who have lived through a fair bit of uncertainty throughout these pandemic years with all the surprise cuts across the board, and now this feeling that they might lose their spot. Hopefully though, this all settles down and it's the last major reshuffle in WWE for quite some time. But ultimately, I think it sounds like Triple H has done a pretty fine job so far. He's made subtle changes to the programming that's brought back lapsed viewers without alienating an audience who actually liked the stuff that Vince was doing. He's put mostly talent's minds at ease about a future within the company, and he's walked a fine line between letting us know that things are actually going to change under his control, while also paying respects to the man that came before him and his massive feat. For instance, on Logan Paul's podcast, he gave props to Vince for the vision to take this tiny little thing happening in bars into something this big and like nothing else, right? WrestleMania is one of the most valuable sports franchises on the planet, billions of social media followers, the 70+ lifetime billion views done on YouTube, right? Now, wrestling was definitely selling out stadiums before Vince McMahon came along, but spinning it into this big old monster franchise is something that WWE is only really the one to have achieved. Now, one person with an utterly different perspective on Triple H's takeover is Tony Khan, who previously could be quite comfortable with the idea that AEW was out there offering something vastly different to WWE's standard programming that appealed to a hardcore wrestling fan. Now look at the state of things. WWE's got the bloke in charge who bloody loves letting indie guys go out there and just do their thing for 20 minutes, which is also TK shtick, TBH, and WWE's got Cody. Anyway, Tony Khan is actually glad of the competition, telling Sports Grid, "It's going to change the competition, but I think that's a good thing. AEW's got a big fan base. We're on in 130 countries around the world, and here in the US, we've built a great fan base, and the competition is going to change. It's a different person in the chair opposite me, but I don't think that's going to be a bad thing for the wrestling fan necessarily. Absolutely not. It's going to be bloody great for us. What a time to be alive." The biggest blow to AEW, though, definitely comes from the fact that talent might actually go back to WWE now. We've already seen that with Dakota Kai already, and the rumours of Banks and Naomi being lured back too. Khan said, "I think that's always been a concern, but now, probably more so than ever, I imagine great wrestlers are going to be in demand. And again, I think this is probably going to be a good thing for wrestling fans, because that's one of the most exciting things about pro wrestling: free agency. It's one of those things that was really missing from the sport for almost 2 decades before AEW came in, because there was not a legitimate competitor in the free agent market, and now there is. But while the work sometimes changes in WWE, there is always work, and one person who is damn good at working is Becky Lynch, who has been having a little pop at Undisputed Universal Champion Roman Reigns on Twitter. Because WWE on Fox tweeted images of Rebecca 2 belts with DOS belts, and Roman with his 2 championships too, and asked who did it better, to which Lynch cheekily replied, "Me, I showed up to work." She's not wrong, because Reigns has only had 2 televised defenses of the title since winning both belts, but will be defending them against Drew McIntyre at Clash at the Castle in Cardiff. And if you're in London on the 3rd of December looking for a place to watch it, and you want to watch the show with us, buy a ticket, because we're doing a party thing. There's going to be a link in the description below for the party thing. Now, one person expected to be there at Clash at the Castle, not at the party that we're doing for Clash at the Castle, is Ronda Rousey, who is currently serving a suspension for her actions at SummerSlam, but she is said to be back for the show. Dave Meltzer broke it down on Wrestling Observer Radio, saying she's booked on the Cardiff show, so she's going to be unsuspended at least before that. I don't know how long, but it's not going to be a month, to put it that way, because she's got to be back for the pay-per-view show. Now, here's the thing, if she is going to be back on the pay-per-view show, we're going to be watching it, and you could be watching it too, in the same room if you come to the party. Come to the party. Come to the party. For God's sake, come to the party.
In this WrestleTalk news, Finn Balor upset with WWE, a huge update about Sasha Banks and Naomi returning to WWE, Ollie's review of Raw, and more.